You know, we send private messages all the time, but have you ever really stopped to think about how that actually works? I mean, it's all going over the public internet. So, how do you and your friend agree on a secret code when anyone could be listening? Well, that's what we're diving into. It's called the secret handshake problem, and we're going to break down how it's solved. So, you hit send, right? You just assume it's secure. But here's the thing. For that message to actually be private, you and the person you're sending it to need the exact same secret key. And that's the big question. How in the world do you get that key to them safely over the same internet you already don't trust? It's like you need a secure channel just to create a secure channel. It's a total digital paradox. This whole issue has a formal name in cryptography, of course. It's called the key distribution problem, but I like to think of it as the secret handshake problem. And honestly, it's the most critical, invisible step that makes all of our secure communication even possible. And believe me, the stakes here are incredibly high. So many super strong encryption systems have been totally broken throughout history. And you know why? Not because the lock itself was weak. Nope. It was because someone basically left the key under the doormat. If you mess up the key distribution, the whole thing just collapses. Okay, so let's get to the heart of it. The actual process of using one key to lock a message and the same key to unlock it, that's called symmetric encryption, it's actually pretty simple. The real challenge isn't using the key. It's figuring out how to agree on what the key is in the first place, without just shouting it out for any eavesdropper to hear. It's that same paradox again. You need a secret to create a secret. All right, so how do we solve this? Well, two major strategies popped up, and they each have a totally different idea about what secure even means. And as you'll see, both have some really powerful pluses, but also some really critical trade-offs. Okay, path number one is something called link encryption. Imagine this. Every single hop your data makes, like from your router to the next big network switch and then the next one, is its own little secure tunnel. So the data is encrypted while it's traveling between those points. But at every single stop, it has to be decrypted for a split second, just so the switch knows where to send it next. And it's right there in that brief, unprotected moment that you've got a vulnerability. Now, the second path is probably one you've heard of, end-to-end encryption. With this, it's like you put your message in a locked box before it even leaves your phone, and only the person you're sending it to has the key. The message itself, totally secure, the whole way. But, and this is a big but, the to and from labels on the outside of that box are totally visible. So a bad guy can't read your message for sure, but they can see that you're talking, and they can build a pretty detailed map of who is talking to whom. So you see the trade-off, right? On one hand, link encryption is awesome at hiding who's talking to whom, but your actual data is at risk at every network stop. On the other hand, end-to-end encryption makes your data bulletproof, but it basically announces your communication patterns to the world. It does give you something called authentication, which is just a fancy way of saying you can be sure the message really is from the person it says it's from. The bottom line, neither one of these is the perfect one-size-fits-all solution. Okay, so if we can't make the keys journey 100% secure on its own, what if we just didn't? What if instead we brought in a trusted third party to handle the whole thing for us, like a central key master that everyone agrees to trust? It really is the logical next step when you think about it. Forget trying to secretly slide a key to your friend under a digital table. What if you both just walked into a digital bank, showed your IDs, and the bank handed each of you a key to the same private room? Much easier, right? Well, that digital bank has a real name. It's a Key Distribution Center, or KDC for short. It's just a central server that everyone in the network agrees to trust. And here is the absolute genius of this idea. You don't share keys directly with other people anymore. Instead, you set up one permanent, super secret key. We'll call it a master key that is only, and I mean only, shared between you and the KDC. What this does is create this brilliant two-level system. You have your master key, which is permanent. Its only job is to protect your conversations with the KDC itself. Then you have a session key. This one is totally temporary. It's made up on the spot for just one conversation, and then poof, it's destroyed. The analogy is perfect. It's like having a permanent key to your safe deposit box at the bank, but you only use it to get a disposable key card for a hotel room you're only going to use for one night. So let's walk through how this works. You send a message to the KDC, basically saying, hey, I want to talk to my friend. The KDC gets this, and it generates a brand new one-time use session key. Now here's the clever part. It wraps that key up in two different digital packages.
It encrypts one copy with your master key and sends it to you. Then it encrypts a second copy with your friend's master key and sends it to them. Now you both have the exact same secret key, and the key itself was never ever sent out in the open. It's just a really elegant solution. But there's a catch. This beautiful, elegant system, and honestly a huge chunk of modern cryptography, is all built on one giant hidden assumption. And that assumption is that we can generate numbers that are truly, genuinely random and unpredictable. The problem is when you start to really poke at that assumption, that solid foundation of security starts to look a little shaky. I mean, think about it. Those session keys, they have to be random, otherwise an attacker could just guess the next one. You also need special one-time numbers to stop someone from just recording your message and playing it back later. All of these absolutely essential security tools rely on the exact same thing, numbers that are totally and completely unpredictable. So what's the problem? Well, computers are machines of pure logic. They're all about order. They're fundamentally physically incapable of true randomness. So they cheat. They use a clever trick called a pseudo-random number generator. It's just an algorithm that spits out a sequence of numbers that looks random. But that's all it is, an illusion. Yep, you heard me right. They are not actually random. The sequence is what we call deterministic, which means that the random numbers that our entire digital security world is built on, they aren't random at all. In fact, they're completely predictable.
And how it works is surprisingly simple. You start by giving the algorithm an initial number, which is called a seed. The algorithm then runs a mathematical formula on that seed to create a new number. Then, for the next step, it just uses that new number as the seed. The result? If you start with the same seed, you will always get the exact same sequence of random numbers, every single time. Which means if an attacker can figure out your starting seed, they can predict your entire sequence of random numbers, forever.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone all the way from this secret handshake problem to this idea of a digital keymaster, only to discover that the keys themselves are cooked up by a totally predictable illusion of randomness. So what does this all mean? Let's tie it all together.
Okay, here are the